Welcome, dirty peasants, to episode 58 of Wartwood Gazette, the Amphibia podcast. This week we're covering Amphibia Season 2, Episode 7, Scavenger Hunt and the Plantars Check In. I'm your host, Limbaticon, and joining me today we have Impact
Yo, what's good, everybody?
and Nick.
What's up, y'all?
Thanks, guys, for coming on tonight. So, after the finale, Nick and I did another recording about like what happens next, kind of, and then we took a week off, and then now we're back, and we're gonna cover the Utopia arc and the last few episodes of season 2. News this week, or the past 2 weeks, a lot of like goodbyes and art as usual, as expected, with these like the show ending. Just like today, as we were recording, like right before we came on, like Matt posted a clip of the core or Aldrich's voice actor. I forgot his name, but
William Houston? I think that's the name.
yeah, something like that. Like him just
Yeah.
like recording a line from like the hardest thing about about being a god. That was neat. And also Matt posted yesterday or the day before this recording, the initial brainstorming for All In, and it's a lot of neat stuff. It has some it had some like images from story artist Char to kind of like help visualize the episode, and like all their notes about like pretty much got included in the episode. Like they wanted to split the fight or the episode into like 3 battles between like Plantars versus Herons, Anne versus Andrias, Darcy versus Sasha, and they like kind of got all their ideas on this page like into the episode, like Grime losing an arm, also the K-pop stuff and Message from Leaf, like everything got into the episode, which is great.
Yeah. And it's like you can tell Matt is so enthusiastic, like just the way he like the way it's written, like he like this, Matt has like some when he talks like in interviews and stuff, like you can tell there's a lot of enthusiasm when he's speaking and like just from the writing, like even like some of the profanity and stuff, but like you can tell it's like he's hyped up to talk about it. So like you really feel that energy and like in the words here and just and in the episode, because I mean All In is like woo, it's a great episode. So you really felt the passion here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with that we can get into the episode for today. Starting off with Scavenger Hunt. So this was written by Todd McClintock, storyboards by Drew Applegate and Nate Marr, and directed by Kyler Spears. So this episode seems to take place directly after Marcy at the Gates, and we kind of get to see like the Plantars and Marcy are at like some burger joint, and we find out Marcy's writing in her journal. And I guess here we can like I didn't ask you guys about like initial thoughts of the episode, but just before we get started, my thoughts on this episode for Scavenger Hunt was like it was a really nice, light way to like introduce us to Utopia, into Marcy, how Anne's reacting around Marcy. I think all that stuff is great. I think I'll leave it at that for now. Impact. What were your general thoughts on Scavenger Hunt?
So Scavenger Hunt for me, like honestly, is like one of my favorite episodes in season 2. It's a very like because it's crazy because Scavenger Hunt isn't really like a big scale episode. It's very small scale. But what I love about it so much, it's like it's gonna be hard for me to explain like in general thoughts, but I love like Anne and Marcy's dynamic and relationship being developed a lot more here. I love what Marcy brings to the show as a whole and how that's expressed more here. Newtopia is great. And I think this episode, like, to me, just gets really uplifted with like season 3 involved, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I love Scavenger Hunt. I love coming back to this episode all the time. It's one of my personal favorites in the not even in the season, the whole show, honestly. Like, which is again weird because it's not like the big finale like gut puncher one. But I love this small scale stuff in Newtopia. It's a nice in between for like the rest of the show, and it sets up a lot of arcs that we're gonna get through later. So this episode's great. I love it.
All right, thank you, Impact. Nick, what are your thoughts on Scavenger Hunt?
Hey, everything Impact just said, preach! Like, I love this episode. It is absolutely one of my favorites from season 2. I love all the awesome action, emotional shit from Amphibia, but I also just love how heartfelt it can get. And Scavenger Hunt is absolutely one of those favorite. Absolutely one of those episodes. I just, you know, I watched this episode. It made me feel nostalgic over this time. Where like, I mean, we all know the series is over. I mean, it when all this drama and crap behind Marcy wasn't there. Like, it was just the fun of seeing Marcy interact with the Plantars. Like, that was just so genuine and just really. I don't know. Just I don't know how to pronounce the words perfectly, but just really sweet to have. And I don't know. I love this episode. I love what it explores for Anne, and I agree with Impact. Like, I feel like we're probably thinking of the same thing here, but yeah, with season 3 in mind, some of the things I had to say about Anne, yeah, this episode gets even better in hindsight. I I love it. Like, I love what it explores between Marcy and Anne's relationship. I love having Marcy talk to the Plantars. I love exploring Utopia. I love everything about this episode. Like, it just, yeah, just absolutely one of my favorites from season 2.
All right, thank you, Nick. So I think Pickle's gonna come on in a few minutes. So once he comes on, I'll ask for his thoughts. But for now, like on the episode itself, we we opened up with like Marcy writing in her journal. And it's like I remember when we first saw this episode, we were all like, "Oh man, Disney, give us like a copy of Marcy's journal. That'd be great." And now we're getting it, which is like super exciting. Like just like revisiting this episode before like
Yeah, one of the few merch we actually get for Amphibia, like as a whole. I mean, there's so much stuff in the show. I'd love to have merch over, and like Disney's like, nah. So I'm glad we get the Marcy journal though, because that thing is it's gonna be so compact. So it's like, yeah.
Matt's been telling us to pester Funko Pop for the little toy things.
Hey, Pickle. So, what are your thoughts on Scavenger Hunt?
I didn't know so I was going to be coming on, so I didn't rewatch it recently. But from what I can remember, do you remember? I liked the way that it used this episode to basically set up and world build Utopia, as well as like introduce some locals, and like the way they use the scavenger hunt as like kind of basically a plot device. Allowed it to not feel like it was just like a nothing episode, because this was important. Scavenger Hunt, it allowed us to it set up meeting the king, and it also like got us used to Marcy. Like, of course, the last episode was the main introduce Marcy episode, but this one continued to do it, and it also set up more about the relationship between Anne and Marcy.
Yeah, thank you, Pickle. That was I like the point about how like yeah, like the scavenger hunt very conveniently helps us like travel across a bunch of places in Newtopia and just see what the city's like. But yeah, like Marcy's writing in her journal. We get that. We get Polly. I just love Polly like consuming the burger, and she's like deformed.
Yeah, she looks so derpy.
Yeah, and then we get like I hope we see those like sketches of like Anne and like Walrus Anne and like sorry, what was it? Straw like a strawless?
Yeah, walrus.
Straw walrus. Yeah, I love the fact they don't they don't know what a walrus is. So like Sprig's trying to be nice and get the joke, but he
Oh
just
yeah, no, I love
can't.
that. Like he's the only one who bursts out laughing here, and he's like, "I don't get it."
He's trying to be a supportive friend, but it's like
Yeah. Like he's just primed to support Anne in any way, but at that point he just gave up.
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and then Polly makes that comment about like, oh wait, before Polly like comments about Marcy's like intelligence, like Hop Hop asks like when Marcy like brings up her journal, that's when like Hop Hop asks Anne about the journal, and then Anne just does her like little joke thing, and then we kind of get we see Polly bring up like, oh, if Marcy was with us, like we'd be set for life, and but the way she like said it, where it's like, oh, if Marcy was with us instead of Anne, and then that's when like we get to see,
It was
yeah,
ruthless.
Roasted.
Yeah, that was just ruthless, Paulie. Damn. And
Marcy
like,
drawing in a notebook also is like a neat little foreshadowing. It's not super relevant ever in the story, but she ends up being a webcomic artist later, and she's shown to be a
ooh.
good artist here.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
yeah. I hope we get to see those sketches like in the Marcy journal, but like she drew strawless walrus like on one page. So like imagine buying like a 200-page book and just like one page just like just and strawless walrus on it.
You
Like
have to keep it added to canon.
yeah, that's gonna be a blast to actually like hold.
Yeah.
But
I think like one thing, just change it a little bit, like Hop Pop's freaking comment on like you just don't like think those thoughts, don't say them. Like goddamn Hop
Yeah,
Pop.
like, dude, like the fact that he even correct her. Like he didn't even correct her. He wasn't like, Paulie, that's terrible of you to say. No, you're just like, Paulie, just don't say it out loud. Like, it's okay to say, oh, that's awful. That's awful.
Yeah, like I thought like it's funny, but I'm like, dang, the Plantars just
Yeah.
destroyed Anne. Like, God.
Yeah.
like the planners have like a habit of like unintentionally like delivering roasts hotter than like Darcy's scythe. Like like remember the dinner, like damn, like they did not hold back, and that was like someone they didn't trust. Like this is Anne, like Anne's like a part of the family, and they're like just like ripping her apart.
Yeah, and it's not even like they're like being like forceful about it, but like like God damn, it's like a subtle roast, but like it still hurts. Like, yeah,
Yeah, and then we get like they get like an arrow hits like near like strikes someplace nearby, and then like Hop Hop freaks out, and then that's when we find out like the king has like sent a letter to Marcy via puzzles, and I'm debating whether or not we should talk about Andrias now or just wait until like the planners check in. But
I feel like we can talk. I mean, we're done with season 3. Like we know Andreas exists, so it's like I think we'd be all right to talk about him now.
yeah, I was thinking like we can talk about how like in this aspect of Andrias's character, how he like is very, he could have sent a simple message, but like that's not how Andrias rolls, and this also happens to be something that Marcy like enjoys as well. So it's like we get to see them like vibe.
This is
Yeah.
all the like games he set up with for her to make her feel like she was playing a fun RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
It's
also
it's
like
just like their way of getting along.
yeah, and I think like it's also like I've like because Andrias and Leaf also kind of did something similar, right? With like the letters and stuff, and like only he can read them with his glasses. So like Andrias has always been a character who has wants to have a ton of fun, and I kind of see like Andrias and Leaf's relationship being similar to Andrias and Marcy's. I think you mentioned that like I think it was last episode something about that. So I think this kind of part of it kind of relates to that a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah, like Andrias found someone, or I guess Andrias and Marcy found someone that like they could connect with, and like Andrias had somewhere he could feel like he could be like who was equal to him, but at the same time like he could like kind of like be the guide that Anne was to Sprig. But
Yeah.
I'll probably get more into that like once we get to the sleepover episode. But yeah, like I really it's nice puzzles. They both like puzzles, and this whole episode's a puzzle. It's great.
Yeah, that's just absolutely one of my favorite details of the episode. Just like because they never explicitly mention they never explicitly mention how inefficient it is to have someone run around the entire city just to solve a three-word puzzle. But I don't know. But then you just think about how Andrias and Marcy work, and then you come to understand that this is just these two screwing around and having fun. Like they both know this is a very dumb way to send a message, but they love just solving puzzles. So I don't know. It's sweet, and it's also kind of tragic. But, yeah.
Yeah.
Andrias and Marcy's whole relationship is this balance between sweet and really fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Marcy, Anne, and Sprig set off to like complete this puzzle quest, and then right before that, Polly and Hop Hop get taken out of the rest of the episode with that loyalty program. But like it's understandable because like they'll get their own. They'll get to spend time in Newtopia later on with their own episodes. But yeah, like back to Sprig, Marcy, and Anne. I love how like you have Anne not marveling at the sight of Newtopia, and then like Sprig immediately. We know Sprig. Like Sprig, kind of when it comes to a lot of stuff, Sprig is kind of like has his focus like scattered. He's like a little bit of scatterbrain. But then when it comes to like friendship, when it comes to Anne, like this dude is like on point. Like
Man's a genius. Yeah. It comes to that anyway.
yeah, like he immediately knows something's off with Anne, and then Anne like confides to him about like feeling dumb. And yeah, that's when he suggests like bringing up the puzzles, and like if Anne solves a puzzle, she'll be smart. And
yeah, I think like the thing that really gets me out of this, I'll talk about this insecurity in a little bit, how it connects to season 3. But one of the things I love, because this is the point in the arc for Anne where like she has this insecurity because last season, right, she kind of got away from Sasha's like toxic influence, right? But this season's cool because now she doesn't really know where she belongs. She's trying to find her identity. And like here, like Anne is like having this insecurity because she doesn't really know what she's good at. She doesn't really know like who she is just yet. So she's always comparing herself to like Sasha or Marcy, who kind of figured themselves out already, who kind of already know what they're good at. So this is like a great point where like for Anne's character, in order to not have this insecurity of hers of like feeling dumb or feeling stupid, she has to realize, oh, I'm good at this. This is who I am. I'm more social. I have a better idea of talking to people. I get relationships more compared to like. But since she doesn't, what she does is she compares herself to Marcy all the time. So it kind of like makes her always feel like she's in that shadow. And like, yeah. So this is like season 2. Anne's trying to find her identity, figure out who she is, and like in order to overcome that insecurity, she needs to figure that out. So what she's good at. So I love that part of the episode. It's like it's such a good like middle point for her arc. Like it's great.
Thank you, Impact. And yeah, like she tries to apply. Go ahead, Nick. Yeah, sorry. I was gonna go to the next. I was gonna go to the next scene if you want to add something on.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just want to say, yeah, that was an amazing way to look at her journey for season 2. I feel like I've always sort of struggled to put into words like my idea of what her arc looks like in season 2. Because honestly, all I can really I just keep on saying like, yeah, this is where she really carves out a version of herself that she's proud of. Like that, I feel like that was like as much as I could say. But yeah, just like I could only really bring up points about 2B into it. But yeah, you brought up a really good way to like add 2A's like focus on Anna into it. So no, I just thought it was a really great point.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like Impact like heard what we said about like season 1 and 3. He was like trying to like bridge the gap for us. Like no, I appreciate it though, because like yeah, I needed to I need to hear that because like and now that we're going through season 2 more, like hopefully like that'll help me like figure things out. But yeah, we get to the first puzzle, and it's like a tree, and then like and Anne's trying. She hug like she's like trying to listen to the tree and is hugging it. And she's just trying to do her best, and then that's when Marcy kind of steps in and just solves.
Does it in 5 seconds.
She just does it like solves the clue in 5 seconds. And
yeah, it's like it's funny because like Marcy isn't like being dismissive of Anne. She's like, maybe that would be a good idea. But like, how about we just do this instead? Like, she's not being like, even though, okay, I kind of even made it sound sarcastic, but it's like, she's not like dismissing Anne ever. So it's not like, I don't know, you can tell Marcy's just like, I love this stuff. Or like, she's already just really good at what she does. So she's just applying it. And in Anne's head, it kind of seems like Marcy is like, not one-upping her, it's just better than her. So I like that they made sure there's innocence in Marcy's character in that way. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Like, yeah, like Marcy never tries to like put down Anne in any instance in this episode, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean Darcy does, but
the focus is really is really about how Marcy doesn't see Anne as dumb, and it's not about like Marcy makes Anne feel bad about herself because she puts her down. It's about how Anne kind of sees herself worse just by being around Marcy. And I think it's like an important distinction that like sometimes it is about your own self that's giving you the issues.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, like Marcy immediately heads off to like the next clue. And then like the scene like right before we go to the next scene, we get like a coastal killer moth kitten stuck in like one of the coral. I don't want to say tree, just like the coral. And then like Anne helps get this like cat down for like some little girl, a little newt girl. I'm so confused about whether I say like person or like amphibian, but it's a little newt girl that kind of looks like Anne. Actually, maybe I'm just reaching, but
yeah, I don't see it.
I just saw the black hair and then just not black hair, the brown hair. It reminded me of like young Anne, but yeah, you're right. There's no resemblance, but like, and anyways, like Anne gets the kitten down. That the girl's like grateful for Anne, and then Anne just runs off. But we know it comes back later. But I'm just bringing it up here. But I like the joke about how like Anne tells the kid not to let it grow up. Like,
Yeah,
Oh yeah, bro.
dude. Yeah, see, yeah, that was another one of the fun things with this arc. Like, he started like referencing earlier parts of this series. That's a Domino 2 reference, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like yeah, this episode had quite a few of it, right? Because didn't they mention the one puzzle? Yeah, the one puzzle they solved back in like what Planter Shrub, right? That was the name of the episode.
yeah, I think they
Was
they
that
mentioned
it?
that somewhere. I think maybe in the beginning of the
Yeah,
segment.
it was right. Yeah, because I think it was when Sprig convinced Anne to try and solve the puzzles on her own. Because you mentioned that, oh, yeah, I solved this back when we were trapped in that dungeon. Like, it's, I don't know, like the Nutopia arc, it really started making you feel like, I know this isn't about the episode, but I just want this down here quickly. But, like, the Nutopia arc really made you feel like you really got to this grand point of the series, right? That you went through so much of these characters, and now we have so many adventures and little one-offs that we can reference and just I don't know have fun thinking about. And I feel like yeah, they capture that through tiny moments like this, and yeah, I love the art for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was like I solved that puzzle in the dungeon one time. That was what sort of what Aaron said. And I forgot to talk about like the Operation Dumb, like prove I'm not a dum dum, and she just immediately hits the sign.
it's,
Yeah,
it's also
great.
very like naming the operation prove I'm not a dum dum, just continuing to add to that.
Yeah. So we get to the second clue, and it's like the wall of some build. Like they just reach some building, and then like Anne tries to solve this puzzle, and she doesn't know what to do. She just runs off to look for help, and she finds this like old lady named Doris. It's this old dude lady named Doris, and instead of like, I guess while Anne gets kind of like distracted, like talking to Doris, like we get that funny moment with like Sprig wanting to try out Marcy's crossbow, which we never got to see enough of Sprig and Marcy interacting. Like I think this is the only small moment, I guess.
Yeah, like hmm, damn. Yeah, wait. I mean,
Yeah,
damn
like
it.
sleepover to end
I'm
all
thinking
sleepovers
more.
has
A
like
sleepover to end all sleepover has stuff, right?
yeah, a little bit. It's not like
I don't
anything
think.
crazy with them, but they talk. They have like an interaction.
That's something that would be cool to get
Do
in
they
the.
do? I'm actually trying to remember. I don't think they. I don't think we got a small scene of them even like talking in sleepover. Like
I think they
I
had
don't
like
think
a
we.
dialogue exchange at least. I feel like they did, right?
Yeah.
Like it'd be weird if they didn't.
Yeah, maybe. But damn, yeah. I guess yeah. I mean, yeah. Sprig and Marcy didn't interact with us, but I guess like I don't know. I guess they still made for these really small fun scenes
We could probably
or
figure
really
out.
fun.
I mean, at least I hope we'll probably get a little bit more of what Marcy thinks of Sprig in the journal.
Oh my god! Wait, remember how in the first temple, like Marcy didn't she wasn't focused on like okay maybe she didn't know their names. No,
Yes, you did know. She
maybe
forgot
she was
him.
just too distracted. But like, oh my god, that would kill me if she's like misspelling like Sprig and Polly's names every time.
That'd be kind of funny, actually.
Oh god, we did okay. My God, God, no, God. I
That'd be
mean, I don't
like,
even know what to
and
say.
then like when we see her spelling their names correctly, that's when we know it's like. But after actually, a lot of stuff happens before the first temple, so maybe like you know what? I'm getting too much into like book speculation, but Yeah, I hope Sprig. I hope Marcy knows their names, but yeah, we had the crossbow moment. We cut back to Anne and Doris just like chatting. And and right before that, Marcy kind of just like solves the puzzle by like matching up like the scratches on the wall with like the map of Newtopia and gets the second clue, which is me, the word me. Yeah, and then and kind of completely forgot when Sprig updates her and yeah, and just gets more just like she gets more like upset and like has to tell Sprig to stop talking. But yeah,
I
at this
think like one thing that's a little interesting here, because like I guess I didn't talk about this a little earlier, but it's just kind of like because Marcy's kind of leading the charge right now in terms of like the adventure quests, and I just kind of love that because eventually Marcy will be taking control of the story once we get the first temple. She's kind of leading the characters where to go, what temple we should go to. She's kind of like leading the story behind the scenes a little bit, influencing everything. So I just think that's really neat because like each girl has had since we finished the show, each girl has kind of controlled the story, right? Like Marcy controls it in kind of a little bit of 2A, but mainly 2B after First Temple. Then Anne takes control of the story in 3A. And finally, after Redemption Arc, Sasha comes in and each of them kind of bring this unique like aspect to the table. When a girl shows up, it's like this huge momentous occasion. The entire show changes when they appear. So just wanted to mention that.
yeah, and I wouldn't even say it's like behind the scenes. It, like clearly seems like Marcy Marcy is set up to like take control and like give the season a sense of direction.
Yeah. I say
Yeah,
more
because I
so
mean,
behind the scenes, like to like a little bit in like 2B, like in terms of like how she influences the story. I was mainly thinking like Third Temple and like True Colors, where like no one really knows what her plans are, but like she's still kind of moving the story forward, which kind of screws everything else up there. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, see,
because
like that's
she's
just
naturally
that's,
like she has like experience, not experience, like she's researched everything, so she knows kind of what's going on more than the other characters and more than the audience. So she's the one kind of like she's the one letting us in on what's going on.
yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, it's a really interesting decision by the show to like frame it like to frame the series like that, which is interesting. But yeah, they head over
like,
to
I
the.
don't know, like I feel like
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
oh sorry about that. I mean, I was just gonna say like that's just I feel like that's just another benefit of it being pre-planned. Like they really just thought to themselves like, how do we set up all these tiny pieces about Marcy? How do we build up this plot in the background while we have all this other stuff going on? Like seriously, like it was only this well executed because they planned all this and God, they did it well.
Yeah, and yeah, they run to the final. They run to like the next location. They pass by Polly and Hop Hop, and Hop Hop's just like focused on those rewards while Polly's missing out. But yeah, like back to Marcy, Sasha, Marcy, Anne, and Sprig. Like Sprig tries to give that little bit more encouragement, but then they see the statue dedicated to Marcy for redesigning their bridge. Yeah, like it's not. I'm not sure what else to add here. It's just like Marcy in Utopia is like considered one of their greatest minds, and we even saw this. We saw the statue in the Marcy Takeover theme song where like Andrias was the one who kind of presented it to her. And I think
it's something it makes me wonder if it makes me wonder like how Newtopia as a whole thinks about Marcy, because we never really get that information. We know like she's a high rank, you know what I mean, and Olivia respects her. We see that in Olivia and Yunan, but like I always wondered if like the rest of Utopia kind of saw her as a hero, you know what I mean? So I assume
Honestly,
so by the statue.
like
I mean,
maybe
seem to,
maybe not, because I feel like Mark. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pickle.
they seem to like look up to her from what we've. I mean, they like from what we saw. We didn't see her interact that much, but she clearly had status. And in like these scenes on Takeover, she had her little troop and all of that, and she saves things. But she like says it herself in the episode that she's not as much of a socializer as Anne is.
Yeah.
So if I were to imagine
Well,
anything, it'd be more like a status than an actual like friendship type situation.
yeah, I was going to. I feel like she's not all that famous. Like I feel like they know there's someone running around like sort of like improving Newtopia, but I just knowing how Marcy went about her journey in Amphibia, like I mean, she made it herself. It was very shallow. Like she never really got to know anybody because she was just there having fun on an adventure, like her own isekai adventure. So I don't know. I feel like she wouldn't really be the type to make these public relations, right? Like clearly she was highly regarded when it came to the royalty of Amphibia, like the high status of Amphibia, but when it came to the common people, like there's a clear separation between like that vendor guy in Lost in Utopia, you know, on this siege mode when he's hunting down Polly and Anne, and like someone like Olivia or something, right? Like there's a big difference between us. So I feel like Marcy wasn't well known by them. Like that's gonna be my guess here. Like those statues were erected by like Andrias. Like that was his present to Marcy because he really did appreciate like the benefits she brought to Utopia. So that's just my
I
guess
think
here, based off of what I know about Marcy.
I think they probably know of her at least to an extent, just because she's like this alien running around in the city.
Yeah,
I don't even think about it
like
like that. She is. I think
yeah,
literally
she
came
basically
from
isn't.
another world. Like,
Yeah. So I guess like I feel like they know about Marcy. They at least know someone like Marcy exists, but like have they gotten the chance to meet her or know her? I feel like I wouldn't like believe in that. You know what I mean? I feel like yeah, they'll know
yeah,
about Marcy, because they won't like will Marcy have ever gone to a public meeting? Ever like you know what I mean? Was there like any celebrations of Marcy there? I feel like Marcy would be too shy to do that. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I think like with that too, like I think it adds to Marcy's ending. It's kind of sad because like in
Yeah.
hardest thing, she's like, man, I wish I got to know Olivia and Yunan better. Like she didn't have like the only person she really had was Andrias, and it's like, yikes.
Dude,
You
like,
know,
like
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word wasted, but it kind of like the way she went about it, she didn't reap the same amount of benefits that Anna and Sasha did. Like clearly she grew as a person, but like
yeah,
the all around experience did. She didn't get that. Like God, that's tragic. Like
Yeah,
so many
yeah.
characters
I
are
feel
She
like
kind
tragic.
of does it to herself too. Like it's like
Yeah,
she's trying to play this like isekai video gamey kind of adventure, and like she's clinging on to like those past relationships of like Anne and Sasha, that she's not really trying to like build those. Like she kind of is. She has one with Maddie, but even then, that's not like the
yeah,
craziest one. You know what I mean? It doesn't last that long. It's kind of sad, man. Jeez.
yeah.
yeah, I feel like yeah, I think we'll probably come back to this conversation and
Oh,
in the aquarium episode. I feel like that's when we'll like want to talk more about this
Oh
too.
yeah, good point.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, but I guess for now it's like yeah, like those were all really great points about like yeah, Marcy's role in Utopia, and the book will probably give us some more info on that too. And
It's
then
also in terms of like her like title being Master Marcy. I know that's apparently the title given to the royalty's son. I think
oh, okay.
I
I
heard
didn't
that
know
somewhere. I have to look into it. I can Google it.
that.
Okay, that's interesting. But yeah, like for the episode itself, it's like Anne kind of just wants to sit out for the last clue, and so that's when she meets like Gertie, the newt who runs the her nacho stand, and kind of saves her trays, her nacho trays, and that's when they get a talk. And it's really interesting. Anne is kind of down on is kind of feeling down, and Gertie kind of brings up how like everyone in Utopia is a genius and what that's like for her, and then Anne kind of like switches into her like kind of and immediately like focuses more on Gertie and cheers and makes her feel better about herself. And even though like Anne kind of takes away like the wrong lesson, it was still nice to see her like talk to Gertie about like we the audience kind of like Gertie doesn't when Anne like talks about Gertie being like a successful businesswoman, like we the audience can like understand Anne is probably like relating Gertie to like her mom in a way, because like running the Tygo and
Oh wow. I never thought about that. Like
I didn't think about that.
like, I never thought about that.
Yeah, that's good.
Like I thought that. Yeah, that's solid. Like I'm sure I never thought about that, but yeah, I can see that connection. And like, don't I mean like, yeah, I mean, Anne's journey from Amphibia, that was very helpful towards her relationship with her mother. Like it's what allowed them to see eye to eye eventually. So I can see that. I can see that point here, Tom. Like yet again, I don't know. Like this season 3 is really making this episode age better.
yeah, and yeah, like Anne kind of took away the wrong lesson from her talk with Gertie, where how it's like, oh, if you just like talk like you know what you're saying, like people will think you're smart, and that's when Anne kind of like applies her like this business bullshittery speak with trying to solve the final clue. Where she goes like, I'm not gonna like talk about like the tangent she goes on to get to like the sewer, but like she does it. They all end up in the sewer, and that's when we meet the laughing alligator. And it was such a weird moment because like this is like probably like a Peter Pan reference, I believe. Like, is that the laughing
Is it?
alligator?
I'm not sure. I thought it was just random.
Like I was just thinking about like the alligator from like Princess and the Frog, and then like another older Disney movie with an alligator that's just like laughing or smiling all the time. Like, but that voice, I feel like it's Jim Cummings, and for those of you who don't know, like that's the voice of like Tigger, who was the voice of Tigger for like a really long time, and just that laugh kind of like sounds like Jim Cummings like Tigger laugh.
It kind of does. Yeah, I'm hearing it now. It's like the hoo hoo hoo, like the
Yeah,
whole
and
time.
also Jim Cummings is like he voices a character later on in the Newtopia arc, so maybe it's like, well, they had him in that
Maybe
day.
additional voices.
Yeah, like yeah. Oh, I should check the additional voices then. Well, I'm on the wiki page. Let me see if he's credited. Yes, he's the dragonfly and the alligator.
Hey,
So the dragonfly, like in the map that Anne was like kind of like imagining making fun of him, making fun of her, and then Troy Baker was like the opera singer and the waiter in the beginning of the episode. Also,
yeah.
the
I
voice
think like
actress the voice actress for Doris is Tress McNeil, and she is the voice of Daisy Duck.
Wait, oh my God, I can totally hear it now. Holy shit! Oh wow! Holy shit! I never realized that. Wow! Like you can totally hear it. You can totally hear it.
Yeah, like
Jesus!
they got.
Wow!
I feel like they
You
missed
can
out on
so fast.
I can't say the voice actor, sorry, the actor for Mickey's voice, because like his last name's like Greek and it's like really long, and I think his first name's
Yeah.
Chris, and then I think Tony Alonso is Donald Duck's voice actor. Like I think they didn't show up in the. It would have been nice if we got all like the Disney alumni, like classic
Yeah.
Disney alumni, but yeah, that's just cool. Like Jim Cummings and Tris McNeil both in one episode. Like that's like taking advantage of the Disney ecosystem.
Yeah. I will say the alligator itself is very like when I first saw this scene, like I just started laughing, like just bursting out laughing just by the voice and like the way Marcy doesn't like care that it's gonna eat them. She's so oblivious. Like she just wants to share like, oh, you know what this thing can do? It can eat a lot of trash and it can eat a lot of meat too. Like she's not piecing it together, and then Anne and Sprig have to like run out of there. It's great.
Yeah, like they're like, immediately like horrified and just like grab her out.
Yeah, because like again, Marcy seeing a little bit of like Amphibia as like her little like video gamey isekai adventure. She doesn't really think of herself as being not like, you know, she still knows she's in danger, but like she's not like super panicking like Anne and Sprig were, where like season 1 they could get eaten by like anything. Like Marcy's time in Amphibia has been pretty less intense. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was intense, but maybe she had like other people around helping her out. But we'll, yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about. But yeah, they're trying to get like the sewer manhole open, and like they're screaming, they're crying out for help, and that's when Gertie hears Anne, comes out to help her. At the same time, that the girl we met earlier with the cat and Doris over here, this too, they come over to help out. Yeah, then like Paul, like Hop Hop's got his like Burger Boy suit of armor that from the customer loyalty program, and him and Polly overhear what's going on. Yeah, like Polly just makes that comment like typical when like when Anne and Sprig are in trouble, but I'm just rewatching the scene. Eventually, yeah, they pull everyone out. They're all fine, and you know, like Hop Hop was the one at the end pulling everyone up again. It's like, okay, yeah, this is just a like a kind of a tangent, but it's like Hop Hop like has been shown throughout the series to be like stronger than he looks or stronger above his age. Like, I'm curious if his wrecker gains kept with him for the rest of his life. I don't know. That would be a good question to ask. If the wrecker was always a costume for Hop Hop, or if that was what Hop Hop actually looked like in his prime. That's we gotta someone needs to ask Matt that. But yeah, the episode ends off like the episode kind of wraps up with Anne kind of explaining herself and how she feels like insecure around Marcy, and then Marcy kind of gives the same like says the same thing back to Anne in terms of her ability to connect with people. And I know you guys kind of like went into depth about this like about this dynamic between them, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I think like one thing I will say though that I'm not sure if this is like confirmed or anything. This is might just be my head canon, but I'd like to think like one of the things we saw in like shopping mall, Anne mentions that Mrs. Boonshoy, her mom, kind of wanted her to study a lot more and like practice being better at school. And we kind of see that in like Fight at the Museum, right? We also see in Anne Exterminator, like as soon as Anne kind of messes up or makes a mistake, Anne's mom is like ready to just like yell at her like crazy, right? She's right on her as soon as she makes a mistake. I always kind of thought like maybe Anne's comparing herself to Marcy because of that. She got that insecurity from her mom, you know what I mean? Like of Mrs. Boontroy kind of pressuring her to do better in school, but that's not really Anne's gift. She doesn't study like Marcy. She doesn't have that. She becomes a paleontologist, so eventually she gets good. But like she doesn't have those same skills, and so like she's naturally gonna compare herself to Marcy in that regard. So, but oh wait, herpetologist. There we go. I don't know why I said. I don't even know what I said. But
I think you said Dr. Jan's profession.
Oh, well, oops. Yeah, not paleontologist, herpetologist. There we go. But yeah, that's what I think anyway. That might be headcanon, but like it sounds like it makes sense, so I'm just gonna roll with it. So
Yeah, thank you, Impact. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about. Like Anne's mom and Marcy both kind of like feeding into this like the cycle of doubt for Anne.
yeah, and it's like it's not like Mrs. B is trying to be like mean to Anne, you know, she's just trying to think the best of her, but like even like Mrs. Boontroy doesn't like wants Anne to be something different than what she is. Like in Anne's Terminator, we see like the pictures of Anne, like she made like these like figures of Anne being a doctor or whatever, and like Anne's not gonna like do that because like it at her current like what she does in school and stuff, she's not gonna really be able to do that. But like I just like to think she pressured that onto her. I think that's an interesting little headcanon to have, and it makes sense once you connect it together. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Impact. And yeah, like luckily Anne is kind of the one who does figure out the final puzzle where like the nachos, like the final clue is shaped like the nachos from Gertie's stand, and that's when the Sprig finishes the nachos on his tray, and we get that message, "Bring me the planners." And the episode ends with them like getting summoned by the king and like feeding that alligator in the sewer. And yeah, we already talked about like Andrias and puzzles, and I want to talk about the message, but I feel like that's more relevant into the next episode. Yeah, I'll save my thoughts on that for then. But yeah, I guess final thoughts on this episode. I guess, does anyone have anything else to add on Scavenger Hunt before we go into final thoughts? Like any observations throughout the episode?
Oh yeah, I just want to like go into this. Yeah, go into like Anne and March's mending scene again. Just like sort of missing a chance, but I don't know. I mean, no, I really love that scene. Like that's an easy to rewatch scene for me. I always go back to it every now and then because it's just like there's so much baggage with the relationship that I will say that it's just really sweet to see these two friends just talk out their problems and just become even and just get even closer to one another. And I just thought that was really sweet. And yeah, I don't know. It's just looking back, it's exactly what we needed. Just because we last time we got something with the trio, like that was back in reunion, and it was like this dramatic episode where Anne's friendship of Sasha fell apart, right? And like Marcy was like sort of like the anti Sasha at the time, right? She was she was exactly what we needed from another human coming onto the cast. and it was just really sweet. Like I feel like they really explored like the good parts of the relationship before all the dramatic stuff came in. So yeah, I thought this was great. I love the development they gave to their relationship, and yeah, I mean it just feels really appropriate for what they try to explore in this arc. Because this is basically the Utopia arc is a lot of things, and one of them is about Marcy and Anne sort of exploring the relationship without Sasha being there to command them around, right? And it's funny. It's funny how they get over this hurdle that's affecting Anne without Sasha being there. Like imagine what Sasha would have done herself. But yeah, I don't know. It's great. It's a really great scene. It's one of my favorite scenes. These two, and like God, I go back to it just every now and then because it's like pure candy sweetness. Like it's just so sweet.
Yeah, I think like to add on to that too, like I think it's so important that like we have like these more positive, chill kind of relationship with Marcy and Anne compared to Sasha, where they're like sword fighting to the death, you know. So like, I also think it's great because this is sort of like Marcy is really cool because she's this character who like, what's the word? Like she has this huge rise in season 2 where like she does all this amazing stuff in Utopia. She's really smart. Anne and Marcy's relationship seems to be a lot better than Sasha's. We're kind of rising her up in season 2, but we're noticing like things that we wouldn't consider flaws, like oh, she has a hard time making relationships. That's okay, but then that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's like eventually 2B comes along, and it's like then we start seeing the cracks in that armor a little bit. But 2A is kind of rising her up a bit more. So yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting rewatching this rise. But
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh wait. Sorry, I got one more thing.
Oh yeah, sure thing.
Shout out the Sprig. Like I feel like I should have said this a while ago in the episode, but I don't know. Just shout out the Sprig in this episode because, like, honestly, we have a lot of good Sprig moments here. Like, dude, Sprig just constantly trying to. I mean, because even when she made a shitty joke that no one laughed at, Sprig was there to support her. That's just so sweet. Like, he's just trying to support his big sister. Like, it's sprinkled around in this episode. Yeah, it just. I don't know. You like the best Amphibia episodes are the ones where you can tell everyone got their time to shine, and everyone was just on spot, and like that's everyone here. And I love Scavenger Hunt. One of my favorites.
All right, thank you, Nick. Pickle, any final thoughts on Scavenger Hunt? Okay, and I guess I should have talked about this earlier, but Marcy at the Gates kind of gave us like a little peek of Utopia, but like here we get like all these backgrounds and they're like all these magnificent backgrounds. Like it's such a different vibe. Like we're so used to like the jungle and the swamps of Wartwood and just like the landscapes of like Amphibia while we're traveling to Utopia, but like now we're like in this like I don't know how to describe it. Like we're in this like city, this old city, and like it's like like nature's like kind of like thriving alongside the city itself. It's just all like really like visually like pleasing like coral structures, and it's not too modern, but it's like advanced enough to like let you know like that we're in like basically like the most like developed part of the world or of this world.
It kind of feels like Atlantis. That's the always vibe I got out of Utopia was Atlantis.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Utopia is just really beautiful. Usually easily one of the best locations the crew's ever put together in Amphibia. Like, there's so much detail that works together here. Like, it's you really do feel the ancientness of the city and the fact that there's history buried underneath it. Like you can tell that it's there because like these everywhere around you they look like age structures and like on what you said, like nature going around it. Yeah, that's true as well. Like it really tells you that this is a very ancient history. I said history. A very ancient there's a very ancient history to this place that's been sort of buried underneath what's currently here. But yeah, like all around, yeah. I you just gotta hand it off to the background. You just gotta hand it off to the background artists. Like they're amazing.
Yeah, and I think we can go into the Plantars Check In now. And yeah, I think we'll go into the next segment. And so the Plantars Check In. This is written by Michelle Cavan, storyboards by Silver Paul and Elysia Rocha, and directed by Joe Johnson. So the beginning of the segment happens like immediately after Scavenger Hunt, and it's like it cuts immediately inside like the castle itself, and the Plantars and Marcy are like about to see King Andrias. They're a little bit nervous. Marcy tells them it's not a big deal. Olivia tells them it is a big deal. We get more shots of like the interior of like the throne room. And then we meet Andrias. And he's like, I guess I can keep going with this scene. Like, actually, yeah, I think we have to keep talking about the scene before like we start. Actually, we'll start with general thoughts first. Like, Plantars Check In for me feels like two different episodes. Not two different episodes. It feels like two different like stories that were kind of like just happened to be together. And at the same time, I can't really like pin down why. I'm guessing each these two different stories like wouldn't have filled out an 11-minute episode without it feeling like dragged out. So they kind of like compressed these like two events into like one segment. I think it's fine. It just feels like a. I don't want to say it's strange. It just feels like we had one scene where it's like all the Andrew stuff in the throne room, and then like everything with Sprig feels like a different segment. It feels like if this was like a 22-minute episode, like we would have like an A plot and a B plot. But like here it's like we get like the beginning of a B plot. We get the beginning of it like an A plot, and then we get like the climax or like an entire B plot in an 11-minute episode, if that makes sense. But I still enjoyed the segment like a lot, and I'll probably go into more detail later. But I guess Nick, what were your thoughts on the Plantars Check In?
Honestly, I mean, I agree with what you have to say. Like, this does feel like two different episodes thrown together. Like, I love both halves. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I get like when I like review both halves when I do that stuff. But yeah, let me just say. Let's start with Andreas. Perfect introduction to Andreas. This is like one of the most rewatchable scenes of Amphibia. Like, Jesus Christ, when we first got to him, instantly likable. Like, this is Marcy and Andreas have like my favorite character introduction. Like they're just the most solid. Like within the first minute, you love these two and you just want to see more of them. Like that was my mood of Andreas and Polly. Like okay, I don't want to go into that episode, but yeah, I don't know, just amazing introduction all around. And my favorite part is how even so you could potentially classify him as a twist villain, this is still all genuine. Every word that he's putting out is genuine. He loves, he actually did enjoy having them. Like that is all genuine. Plantars, like the rest of Plantars Check In, probably I feel like there are like Sprig has like a lot of scenes of them pulling in wacky shenanigans, and yeah, I don't know, I love this. Like I still love this. Like this is probably like my favorite montage. Like again, a really rewatchable scene of them just screwing around. Like I love it. So yeah, Plantars Check In. Like even so, yeah, like we don't get that much time of Andrias here. I don't know. Like I don't know. The rest of the episode's still solid. So love it all around.
All right, thank you, Nick.
Are you guys able to hear me now?
Yes, we can, Pickle.
Yeah, we can hear you.
What are your
Yes.
what are your thoughts on the Planners Check-In? Just like general thoughts.
Honestly, I hadn't really noticed the divide between the like beginning of the episode and the rest of it until you guys brought it up. But honestly, I think it worked fine because they do it at the beginning of the episode. It doesn't feel like we're spending the rest of the episode waiting for that. So it's not like it takes away from the rest of the episode. I think it's like they gave it the time it needed, and they could have done some big Andrias introduction episode, but they just did that with Marcy, and they kind of nailed Andrias's introduction, so it worked fine. And then the main portion of the episode with Sprig being like having his wacky shenanigans, I found it pretty fun. I think this is one of the only just solo Sprig episodes, basically, and I enjoyed it quite a bit, which also helped make it feel less like it's like, oh no, they did all of the beat of the episode in one small thing, but you know the actual like large amount of the episode I found really fun.
Thank you, Pickle. And yeah, this was like a hilarious episode. But we'll get more into that later. But like Impact, what are your general thoughts on the Planners Check-In?
So Plantars Check In for me is pretty much what you guys said. When I first watched this episode, I was like, it felt weird. I'm like, like it felt like we had like two different plots. I always like, for me, when I think about like the first half Plantars Check In, I just think of it as a part of Scavenger Hunt. Like I don't I don't really think of it as its own separate episode, that beginning part. But yeah, like Andrias's introduction, I'll go more in detail on it, but it's a really great scene, like just in general, because at first you're like, we were kind of used to characters being like, with Sasha, like we saw her out the window in like season 1, and like we were like, she's definitely like toxic friends, they're definitely evil. And then like then you like season 2 has like been tricking us a lot, where it's like, Marcy, like she was smiling the same way, she's definitely evil. No, okay, I guess she's not. Well, she's not still, but like Marcy at the gates kind of showed us, oh, she's good. And then like with Andrias, it made me think like, oh, like they might trick us again. Maybe he is good, and then it swaps back. But like, I'm going a little bit on a tangent. But like Andrias's introduction was great because it kind of tricked me multiple times anyway. But I was always still a little suspicious. And then the rest of the episode is, it's fun. It's fun. Like this is a solo Sprig episode, and it just kind of has that idea of just letting us explore Newtopia a bit more and enjoy it, which I'm gonna say a lot of cartoons don't really allow you to do that. They kind of like jump to the next plot point or jump to the next plot point. It's really nice that Amphibia is one of those few shows that let us chill out, enjoy what we have before big things change. So I think this is great. And it's just, solo Sprig episode, really fun. Spider Sprig's still the best one, but this one's still a really good one too. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Impact. And yeah, I think I like how you mentioned that the scene in Planners Check-In kind of felt like a continuation from Scavenger Hunt, but it felt like this was like the final scene for Scavenger Hunt in a way. Like like maybe like Scavenger Hunt is like I'm checking the time here. Maybe it's like almost like a 15-minute episode, and then the Planners Check-In is kind of a 7-minute episode, which isn't too far off from Toe Tax and Prison Break. I think Toe Tax was 13 minutes long. That's the longest, I guess, second segment episode they've had in the show.
Yeah, because I think like Toe Tax is
13 minutes long.
Yeah, and Court the King is 12 minutes long. I don't know if it's 13 or 12. I know it's extended, but
Yeah, and
Wait,
then
sorry, what episode? What episode?
the Court the King, it's because that episode's extended too, right? It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
isn't that episode like 12 or 13 minutes?
it's
I
12
forget.
minutes, but
I think it's 12.
Toe Tax was 13 minutes long.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
And then that means
You
like
know
prison.
it's gonna get real when the intro isn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we can go into like the first scene of the Plantars Check In, where like we get the introduction of Andrias, and I guess we'll discuss everything up until Andrias greeting the planners. So I kind of the message for Scavenger Hunt was bring me the planners, and like it's so interesting how. Okay, first we'll talk about the Peacekeeper of 1,000 years, because that led to a lot of discussion. It's like, okay, does that mean Andrias is 1,000 years old? And then we like everyone did the math with like the kind of newt Andrias was, and like, okay, like you carry the 1, you add a 0, you multiply by frog, and okay, like Andrias is like real life inspiration, like real life knew it was inspired by applied in Amphibia years would like live to 1,000 years. It's like, okay, that makes sense. And then the show was like, nah, he's a robot. Or a cyborg. But
Oh yeah, I can't I can't unsee that now. Like the entire yeah, he's all metal. Like he's you come back to this scene, he's all robotic. I can't
Wait,
Yeah.
how much foreshadowing is there?
not a lot.
Because I can't actually.
Not at all, kind of. It's just that the Peacekeeper for 1,000 years, that means Andrias has been living for more than 1,000 years. And just everyone was thinking, like, how long could he live like that? And I do remember there were some, like, fringe theories, like, that Andrias was, like, that had cybernetic parts. Like, whoever called that out, like, back in season 2, like, props to you.
I always
Yeah,
thought it
like
was just
I-
gonna be like a thing about him being like an older species. He's bigger and he gets to live longer.
Yeah, like I honestly, I thought it was either going to be it's natural to his species, or he's been gifted that immortality by like by what was in the basement. Like before we even knew it was the core, we thought it was some kind of like eldritch monster. I thought it was that. Like I thought they gave him some kind of like I don't know. I don't know what to call it. I don't know. I was gonna say Jews. I'm like, what do you mean by Jews? But some kind of like something, something that will keep him alive for this long. Like I figured it'd be that, but.
Thought
It
it
sort
was
of
I don't
was
know.
that.
I thought it
Yeah,
was like
true.
something like I was just
I
gonna
thought it was
say
gonna be
like
like some kind of special essence or something. Like, but him being a cyborg, like God, that's still so chilling. Like it really, ugh. Like it kind of tells you how much humanity sort of lost, along the way. I mean, oof.
He literally lost himself over those thousands
Yeah.
of years.
Yeah. And,
I thought like it was because I always thought when I finished season 2, like because I think a lot of the fandom, including me, thought with the parallels with like Anne and Andrias, like I thought like Andrias had like some point where he was connected to the stones. I'm like, did that have something to do with it? Like that was what I was thinking. Not obviously there, but like after True Colors, that was my theory on that somehow. But then he was just a robot, well, a cyborg. So yeah.
And I know during our Core and the King discussion, our friend Princess Cthulhu, he brought up the fact that like Andrews had the title of Peacekeeper of 1,000 years, and then now that we know like how like in the eyes of the like of Andrews and his family, like that's probably like a title of shame, because their whole empire was built on like invading other worlds.
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. Shoot. It's a really good point.
Yeah, and then like the Andrias immediately like hugs the planner, like he just like grabs him in for like a bear hug in his beard, like, and like knowing what we know now, it's so like there's something so like tragic about how much like Andrias like tried to forget Leaf, and then here he is like here like right now like embracing like the descendants of his like best friend.
Yeah, literally, like they made. It's like her love in a way. Like I don't know, like it's like a love in a way made its way back to him. Like, God, he didn't open his heart to them. Like he genuinely liked them.
Imagine like spending 1,000 years being salty over it and like being super close to reclaiming what you had, and then like gender swap the gender swap version of the person who betrayed you in the first place just walks into your castle.
Oh man, it's just oh Andrias, why did he do this? It's, like, now it just makes me sad thinking about everything. Like 1,000 years of his life just wasted hating someone who because he generally thought like she hated him too, right? Like that she just threw everything away that had built up together. Like and so he spent 1,000 years of all that spite and hate built up inside of him, and just ugh. As soon as he got the chance to unload that, he just threw that out at everyone he made a connection to, everyone who reminded him of the same feelings he held for Leaf and Barrel. Like he just vomited all that over them, and that was True Colors basically. That was Andrews and True Colors, and it's just. Oh,
I mean, it has been officially like brought up in the like panel in the gallery nucleus panel. Someone brought up was Leaf. Did Marcy running away with the box remind Andrias of Leaf running away with the box?
Yeah, and Matt said yes, and like
yeah.
yeah, and I guess like when we got more of the Utopia arc, I kind of thought that maybe Anne just like knew that the planners were related to the pink frog, which we learned like I guess we can just say Leaf now, but because he was like he specified the planners, and like I guess like knowing now, it's like knowing now that he never knew, like he never made the connection. It's just yeah, like Nick said, it's like it's just tragic.
Yeah.
But
hey, at least
is
it was fun as hell. At least it was a fun as hell scene. Like it's really, really, really fucking fun.
Yeah, and then we
like,
haven't even talked about
Keith David.
Yeah, Keith David is like when we found out like Keith David is like voicing a character in Amphibia, we all knew like okay, like he's either voicing like the father figure, like the mentor, the dude you don't want to like the dude you don't want to fuck with, and or just the villain. And then
the answer was all three.
Yeah, it was all three. And I think I'm basing these like different titles on like someone did like a analysis of like Keith David's roles. Like I can't find the video. I can't find that video anymore. But it's like these are like these are the classic Keith David roles, and then like they all lead back to being like the man of authority. But yeah, that's certainly like King Andrias in this series, and it's just great to have him in the show. Like I think Matt mentioned that like Gargoyles was like an inspiration to Matt growing up, and getting like getting Goliath on his show was like super special to him. But
to play the main villain, no less.
Like
it's not like a thing where Keith David shows up for like a few scenes and that's it. Nah, man. Andrias is like a major main character throughout like season 2 and especially season 3. Like he is extremely prominent. I mean, it has to be. He's the villain. So like they use Keith David to the fullest, and it's great.
Yeah.
So
And we haven't even talked about like Andrias meeting Anne for the first time. Like that all those scenes were hilarious too, where it's like the thumbs up and Anne like giving him the fist bump.
Yeah, it hits different now. Like just knowing how these two are supposed to be set up against each other, right? All the intrigue with that, like it definitely hits different now, and I feel like you can say those parallels were honestly because like I remember I wrote something about Anne and Andrias like way back, I think right after True Colors aired. Like I was already seeing the parallels back there, and like I feel like I might have mentioned this scene, but like, and it's really like laid out in Scavenger Hunt just how easily Anne gets along with people, right? Like making friends wherever she goes, right? Enjoys fun and stuff. Here, like Andrew, it's almost automatically the planters all warm up to him, right? Like it's just right off the bat. Like he's so inviting, and so you can already sort of see that. You can already sort of see how these two sort of mesh. You know, not mesh, but yeah, how these two sort of like parallel each other. It's like already right there, and I just God, just knowing how these two end up for the rest of the series, like it just hits different, right? Like this is the beginning of their time together, and it's just wow. Like they go from this, I don't know, like you guys what I mean? They go from like being on friendly terms to a fight to the death. Like when you got to the scene for the first time, did you ever expect something like that? Hell no. Like I was just like, oh, this is fucking cool. Like that was it. I was just like, oh, this is fucking cool. The King of Amphibia. I didn't think they were gonna have. I don't know. I just. I'm sorry, but like it's amazing. I'm sorry. It's just amazing.
Oh
yeah, and it's like, oh, man, it's great because this whole scene changes depending on like when you're watching the show, right? If like you watch this at the beginning, and personally for me, I didn't notice the Envy. I was just gonna mention like
no. Finish your point, Impact. Finish it.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say like you notice like Andrias and Anne, like I didn't see that connection, frankly. But like then we get the True Colors, and it's like here we go. Okay, we got like we definitely got like a what's the word, like battling philosophies here going on with them. There's definitely parallels there, and like just this whole scene changes depending on when you're watching the show. Like True Colors, you hate this guy because you think he was faking it the whole time. Then you get to Olivia and Yuna, and you're like, was he faking it? He doesn't seem like he wasn't. Then you get to the Core and the King, and it's like every time you go back to this scene, every single time you rewatch it, it changes, and it's great. So yeah.
Andrias is just a really good complex villain.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
And even in this introduction episode, like they make sure that like every move he makes has like has weight behind it, like jumping up, even just like putting his hand out for like the thumbs up, like it creates that like gust of wind. and even like when Andrews talks, like they make sure his voice has like a, I don't want to call it like an echo, but it's like there's like a bass behind his voice basically that like does not sound like any other characters in the room.
I always thought that was just like, I'm not sure if it's like an added effect. I'm pretty sure it's just Keith David's voice itself, right? That just has that presence to it. You know
No,
what I
but
mean?
even it has like a little. It feels like his room is like. It feels like the room, like you know how if you're in an empty room, like the sound kind of like travels.
Like a lot of echo.
Yeah, I guess yeah, it is an echo. Like Andrias has that, but like the other characters don't.
I think the best way to describe it is booming.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, then yeah, Andrias brings up the music box and brings up the fact that Hop Hop gave it to some contacts, and it's like all this stuff is just like this was like this was a reminder for us or the audience about like the music box. If I don't know, in case we forgot about it, but we didn't. It's like, oh, we had the music box. Oh, the gems are gray. Oh, Hop Pop, we gave it to Hop Pop. So it's like it's reminding the audience of like everything that's happened with the box so far in the series, at least.
This is also like properly calling out that the gems being gray is like is a difference that's notable and should be like thought about.
Yes.
Did anyone else feel like an idiot for not noticing that? Because when I was watching this,
I didn't notice it either, dude.
I didn't notice. I was like, oh.
Wait, the gems?
Clarity box. Yeah, the gems. I didn't notice that the gems were supposed to be glowing.
Nick.
There was a music box?
Nick.
Okay.
Impact, Nick. Wait.
No, like
Oh,
you know what? I'm not gonna. You know.
No, when I was first watching, like not now.
Yeah.
When I was first watching.
Yeah.
I mean,
we know this community has plenty of qualms over the colors of the gems on the music box.
Like what?
Like, Mom, I didn't even like the clarity box. Though. I don't know what to tell you, though. Like, I just was. I'm telling you, though. You already know me. Listen, I'm not the biggest guy on lore stuff. Like, I forgot that we got the true name of the box until like I rewatched season 1. Like, I forgot that it went from being called the music box to the calamity box. Right? I even forgot that detail before season 2 started. So I don't know though. I wanted to tell you, I was just here for like the Plantar family, dude. I was not paying attention to the lore.
Well, Nick, I don't think I can call you a true Amphibia fan anymore.
Sorry, Nick. You're no longer welcome on this podcast. We're kicking you off your own show.
I was like, I don't know. What's the word? Not bond, but like, I related so much with Anne in this scene. I was like, oh shit, they're supposed to be colored.
I think this.
I think it's just for me. It was like I didn't think about the fact they were gray. That was the thing. I was like, oh yeah, they are gray. Oh okay. Yeah, I never connected a dot together. Like, and then Anne just mentioned like, oh yeah.
I just never thought about that. I don't know because like the calamity box, like I don't know. It was only brought up like what 3 times in season 1. Like I don't even.
But Nick, I think, and Nick and Impact, I think this kind of just like, I think this kind of reinforces like the point that the show needs to like explicitly call out certain elements of the series or of the show, because like when I go on the subreddit, like it's like you hear people like talking about this stuff all the time, like every single like picking apart every single little detail. But then when I talk to like my nephews who kind of just like watch the show like casually, they're like, "Oh, what prophecy?" And I'm just like, "Oh, you know, like the thing in the code in the book that showed up for 1 second." And they're like, "What?" And then I'm like, "Oh, wait. Yeah, I'm too deep into this fandom." But
I mean, it's why Mother of Olms is important, and people need to stop complaining about it.
yeah,
not everyone's like super into this show.
Yeah, like the show needs to like. If the show didn't explain this stuff, like then you'd have like the target audience just wouldn't, like half their target audience, like the 6 to 11-year-olds, like wouldn't know what's happening, and it's like, I'm glad. I'd rather have them like have a better idea of the show now than like watching it like 5 years later and just realizing they missed all this stuff. Like, and at least like it's better. At least the main the more important parts of the show are like are highlighted for like audiences, like for children of all ages, basically. Like can like hop into the story, hop and get with and like actually know what's going on. So yeah, it's good that the scene kind of like reminded us of like so many things, like the gems, the like Hop Pop, like it's all yeah, it's a nice little bit of like exposition, and Andrews is kind of like bullshitting his way through through this conversation, where he's like, "Oh, we gotta figure out what this box does in our archives." Like,
It was still so crazy feeling to know that, like, even back then, he could have, if those drums were just powered, he could have just solved the problems already. I don't know. It's just weird because back then, like, he made it very clear that he knew what to do with the box. He was just like, "Oh, well, I mean, these aren't glowing, so I don't know what I can do." Like, but still, I don't know. It was so weird because it's like put yourselves back in the perspective of a season 2 selves, right? Like before we even knew about the prophecy, or like before we even knew that they had a greater purpose of being an amphibia, we really had no idea where their story was going to go, right?
well,
And
we had the
so,
mural.
yeah, I don't know how we had the mural, but it's like, what I mean? That mural wasn't even acknowledged until like the last 3 episodes, or the last, I don't know, the last 5 episodes.
Last
I can't remember,
five,
but
maybe, yeah.
yeah, but like seriously, we had no idea where the story would really end up going because it was really just focused on like this on this found family, character driven stories, and like the idea that all our problems could have been solved with a snap just right there. Like I don't know, that just felt so weird to me. I was like, damn. I was like, Andrias is a really important guy, and little did I know. Like I didn't truly know the depths of his importance, but like I don't know. I just had to put that out there. Like this scene just it just hit me different when I saw it the first time.
Yeah, we get the pretty big hint that he knows a lot more about the like real lore side of Amphibia when he does the whole the pieces are falling into place thing. Like he knows
Yeah.
the picture, and then he like actually he shares some with the audience here. It's a bit of an exposition for us. The like reminder the box exists, reminder that Hop Pop's not not being honest about it, and also like a very clear, hey, the gems need this done to them sort of thing.
Yeah. And then while Marcy makes that quick comment about like Anne tries to like ask Marcy what she can do to help, but like this isn't really Anne's expertise with like deciphering ruins and stuff, and so Marcy's gonna take care of like the research stuff with Andrias, while Anne just kind of like
Oh,
lets the planners and Anne like have fun in Utopia. And Pickle, you're gonna say something.
I this is backtracking a little bit, but I just realized that Andreas uses the pink glasses to look at the photo, and at the time it's kind of played as a joke. Like he's this big king, and he's got these like dorky little glasses, but it's also like he could be checking for messages from Leaf because Leaf had the box last, as far as he knows.
But I think
And
I don't think like the invisible ink wouldn't work like that through a photo.
yeah, but he wouldn't know that.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, Andrews was like clever, but like, he'll just like he'll just try stuff out, I guess. I don't know. I mean, yeah,
One,
this was probably like the first time he saw the box after like 1,000 years, like at least a photo of it. So like, imagine
I'd
thinking
agree.
about how close he was. Imagine him
Yeah, I
thinking about
know.
it.
Yeah, he was itching for that box. Like as soon as he like heard Anne had it, he was like, "Yo, let me see, let me see." Like, and then she had the photo. It was like, "Oh, okay, well, yes, a photo." Ooh, like probably in his head,
Yeah.
he's like, okay, fine, whatever." The photo, just look at that. So, yeah,
Yeah, and Marcy mentioned Anne mentioned that Marcy was going to figure out the research just like the group projects back home. That's a
Yeah, that's an interesting like line because like I think Matt mentioned this how like when Anne gets back to Newtopia, right, or gets not back to meets Marcy, right? Anne is very much willing to be like, nah, Marcy, you got this. I'm just gonna chill here and just you do your thing, man. Like she's very much wants someone to lead her, and so as soon as Marcy comes in, she's like, all right, you got this. But like in season 3, it's funny because like Anne is like actively doing research, right? Fight at the museum, great example of that. She's actively like on the computer trying to find a way home. She never would have did that here. I mean, literally, she doesn't. So I just think like it's a subtle thing, but I like that. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Andrias does another bait and switch with the royal credit card, and I feel like that credit card scene is like the perfect like analogy for Andrias's character, where it's like you think there's something underneath there, and then for a brief moment nothing is, but then it turns out there was. You kind of got the idea the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they get the
And
royal
honestly,
credit. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I'm just gonna, I don't know, it's just like, I don't know, there's like a little nitpick of mine, but I'm so super salty. They never abused that card. God damn. Like, unlimited funds, man, and Hop stingy ass said no. What was wrong with him? Like, they could have brought back so many cool stuff to war, but then he said, I mean, he's brought back a stupid massage
forgot
chair. Like,
to.
I'm so pissed off about that. Like we didn't even get to see him use it. What's wrong with this guy? Like, Hop, come on.
They even had
Unlimited
him, like,
funds.
forget to buy all the stuff.
God, unlimited funds.
What about the
Unlimited
massage?
funds, guys. Like, Andrews would even get mad. Like, if they somehow charged up a huge amount, I don't even think he would care. He would say, "Oh, that's fine. I'll just take it out of the taxpayers." Like, I'll take out of the taxpayers. Like, I don't know. I really just wouldn't care, but whatever. I'm just pissed.
I mean, there'd be no. Andrews probably thought, okay, by the time we're done here, there will be no institutions to pay back.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah, good point then.
But yeah, and like they get the card. Sprig is ready for some adventures. He's time to see Newtopia, and then like it cuts to them immediately in the hotel suite. Everyone except Sprig is like wrapped up in robes and just resting on the beds and.
Wait, Thumb, is it okay if I can backtrack a little bit? Just one like
Yeah, go ahead.
little point. Okay, I just want to mention like one of the things like because we get to see Marcy and Andrews' relationship, but like it's a little bit like just something I like in the whole scene when Andrews is like jumping up and down and like stomping on the floor is that like Marcy never trips or falls or anything there. She's always like on balance because she's used to it all the time, and like Andrews like he goes like it's sup, right? And then Marcy does the thumbs up. I like that. It's a simple like it's not a lot, but it lets you know okay, they're familiar with each other. They know each other. They've been around each other for a while. It's like not a lot of dialogue is done between them, but like they know each other well. They get each other. So I just thought that was neat.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, like Marcy's like used to Andrias's like motion. And like Anne just met him, so she's like immediately like on the floor.
Tripping and falling, like she's not used to it. But Marcy's been here for like 3 months. She gets it.
Yeah. And like back in the hotel, like yeah, Sprig wants to go out, Hop Up doesn't let him. We get that line, the city will still be standing tomorrow, and is this the Domino's the Alpha and Omega scene of the season?
Yes, dude. I'm telling you, this like because the show is so pre-planned. There are just so many moments of teasing for us to be tortured by when we come back around. Like that for a fact. That scene right there was just because they knew they were going to turn Newtopia upside down by the end of the season. Like, the crew, they're master trolls.
Yeah. And everyone's asleep. Hop up told Sprig he can't leave the building, but Sprig finds the loophole. How he didn't say anything about like within the building, and
Clever little.
And then he abuses being rich.
well, before that we actually meet Bella the Bellhop, voiced by Christian Shaw, and you know that's the voice of Mabel from Gravity Falls, as well as Louise from Bob's Burgers. Yeah, her role here, like, because I think most people are familiar with like Christian Shaw's performance on like Gravity Falls, so they're used to like the upbeat energy. But then here it's very much like reserved. So it's like this is definitely someone who's just finished college and debt.
Yeah. They got that millennial energy down. That's all I'm saying. They really challenged that millennial vibe into Bella. That's all I'm gonna say. Like,
Yeah, and then like yeah, she brings her stuff and you know, she asks for a tip and then Sprig kind of because I guess Sprig's never like been to like a hotel before, so he just kind of he misinterprets that as like an actual like a piece of advice tip. You know, that's when Bella brings up the indoor Ferris wheel. Yeah, and then just Sprig immediately like just heads out.
Like Sprig, I don't know. He was just too tapped into like adventuring, and he just couldn't care at that point.
Yeah, and then he winks at the Ferris wheel, and it's like that's like a reoccurring joke in this episode.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, like Pickle said, it's like Sprig just says he's rich, and then everyone leaves him alone. Yeah, we get that montage of him like just like going shopping. The shirt he gets in at the store saying Big Frog does that show up in Sleepover and All Sleepovers? Or is that a different shirt?
I think it does. I'm pretty sure that's the shirt, yeah, because it's like too big for him in that episode, I remember. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay.
Well, that's really neat detail.
The haircut the haircut scene.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
we get the Goku hair like Super Saiyan haircut and
Yeah. Super Saiyan Blue, yeah.
Yeah, then he just immediately carves it up. And like the poor barbers are like hours, probably hours of dedication to Sprig's hair, and then he just fucking breaks down and starts crying. Like I love that.
Yeah, because I don't even know how that worked. Like Sprig's hair is
Sprig's
not
a
even
force
big
of
enough
chaos.
to reach to reach that like length. So like that must have took a lot of work.
Extensions.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
and yeah, and then we get the like the I think it was the Frappuccino or cap like whatever frog version this was of a cappuccino. Sprig takes a bunch and then he becomes the Flash basically and what did he say? He's like I'm the Time Lord now. Like and we hear that really
yeah.
that odd like EDM track while he's like going at like hyper speed. And then what else? So we get the we also get that joke where it's like that random old guy sees Sprig like I don't know what to call it, like Sprig like going in withdrawal. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take whatever he's having, like
Yeah, I think it's like a When Harry Met Sally reference or something, right? Like I'll have what he's having.
what's that from?
Oh, it's like this like 80s movie called When Harry Met Sally. It's like this. It's like a whole thing. It's like, it's like a whole thing, but um yeah, no, no, I was okay. Okay, I mean, if I should explain context, but I did. Like, it's definitely not appropriate for the podcast, but
Oh,
yeah, I don't know. It's just a joke. It's just a joke from the movie.
oh, okay. But yeah, like after that montage, he's just like standing over he's standing over a rail, and then he drops after all of this he drops the card and it falls on like a light fixture on like another floor below him. And then he rushes to the elevator, meets some old people, and this is like one of the funniest part. Like I think I laughed out loud for this moment where he like has to like help the old people like go each floor, and then he just eventually gets tired of this, and then like the like it just so like without warning he just like throws himself out the window.
Yeah. Yeah, Spring just gave up. Like he was like,
Sprig was willing to die
oh,
to do that.
yeah.
Oh, I forgot to show you guys the thumbnail of this week's episode. I should have shown
Oh
it.
shit.
I should have shown it at the beginning because like that. this is like I took the part where
Oh,
Sprig
that's
is like
perfect.
falling out the
That's
window, like completely like content.
Yeah, that's perfect.
It's beautiful.
It is. And then Sprig like tries to he jumps off to try and catch it. He misses it, and then it cuts back to Bella on her lunch break eating bread and ice. like wow, like I don't know. I feel so bad. Like, and she has like a little lunch bag that's just like go from her mom.
That's supposed to be like an avocado spread joke or something. What?
I thought it was literally just like bread and ice making fun of her for not having like enough money to have any.
For being poor.
Oh.
I mean, like she's
Oh.
got no. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was just like a poverty joke. Like,
Jesus.
Yeah, that's brutal.
how'd she keep that ice without it melting?
It's even worse than bread and ice. The only thing worse than bread and ice is soggy bread.
Yeah, then like she says that the world taught her that magic is dead and miracles don't exist, and then the card falls right in her hand, and Sprig just casually like bringing up the importance of the card right in front of her while she's holding the card. It's like classic Sprig move. And then this is my from a story standpoint, this was my favorite part of the episode where we find out that this is one of the classic Sprig becomes deranged because of an older woman episodes.
Jesus.
Like it's an Amphibia classic.
A new trope. What should we call it?
Well, Nick called it Insult Spray.
Insult Spray.
No.
Like, like I just saw a pattern, man. Like it was weird. Like,
For listeners who don't know, it's like the saga of Sprig becoming deranged because of an older woman is starts off in cracking Mrs. Croker, goes into family fishing trip, then the planners check in, and then it builds up to the finale of Thai Feud.
like, God.
Yeah, but yeah, Bella and Sprig get into like a little chase. Yeah, eventually the card ends up like on top of like one of these like I don't know what to call it, like the cabins of the Ferris wheel. They they race to get to the top, and Sprig makes that joke like where he hops onto one of these like cabins of the Ferris wheel, and he's like, "Man, I'm glad I'm a frog." And then Bella immediately swims up the waterfall, and then Sprig complains about being a frog. uh,
Oh, that was a really funny joke. That gets me every time. I won't lie.
it kind of reminded me of like
It's such an easy joke. I don't know. It just gets me.
it kind of reminded me of like Breath of the Wild, where like when you have like that certain suit of armor, you can like swim up waterfalls. I don't know, because like what was this, like 2020? Yeah, because around this time, around the pandemic, I was like finishing up like parts of the game, like the other like shrines. So like I had that in the back of my head, and then this episode happened. I guess that's why I kept that connection. But yeah, eventually they get to the top. They both grab the card, but then they both get to see that view of Utopia, or specifically the castle. It's a really nice shot with like the lighting
Yeah, no, it's really
at
gorgeous.
sunset. Yeah,
And also, like, they introduced the super weapon for later.
Ooh, that's true.
I mean, it was staring at us like from the castle just because it's like a giant design feature every time we see it. But they also like specifically like show it and really get it in our minds. So later, when it becomes this weapon, it's like, oh, that's what that was there for.
yeah. Because when we first saw that design, I was always thinking about that. What we found out now was like the trigger for the actual like cannon. So like I actually like brought up the like back when in season 2, like as a joke, like Princess Cthulhu and I were just saying, "Oh, it's a death laser. That's what it's for." And then I said all of Utopia was all of Amphibia was a spaceship. I should have just said Utopia because that would have been accurate. But yeah,
Also, I just. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I finished.
no, I'm done. My thought.
Yeah, I was just gonna like. I just wonder, like, no, like, what was the? Like, do you guys think they had like a point to show so much of the beauty and grace of the city if they were gonna like, you know what I mean? I guess part of it was to emphasize, I guess, like the sort of like the tragedy of it being ruined by the end of the season, right? But like, I don't know. I guess it's something for me to think about later. But I don't know. It's like they showed off so much of the beauty of the city, and like 1,000 years ago, right? It was like the heart of like their like
Civilization.
colonial. Like yeah, it was a heart, but like you know what I mean, like the heart of their like conquesting civilization, right? Like, sort of the heart of that corrupted society. I don't know. I was just thinking like, is there is there a reason why they show off like the beauty of it while having that also be like the truth of it at the same time? Like, is it supposed to make like just the sort of like the what like the juxtaposition even greater and different? Like, honestly, I'm not sure.
I get that. I think that and like yeah, I think it's also just the creators are trying to soak in this environment as long as we can. But keep in mind, after True Colors, we never go inside the city walls of Utopia ever again. Like, it's gone. We only go, like, the closest we get is in Utopia Castle, and that's it. Like, this is, like, a very special point in the show where we get to enjoy Utopia for what it is. So it's like, I think Matt, because Matt's thinking this long term, he's like, you have to, like, soak it in while you can, kind of thing. So,
Not you. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think even if Amphibia didn't get not Amphibia, Utopia didn't get wrecked by the end, like they still would have shown like the beauty of Utopia, but it's just like what happens at the end is just like a little bit of tragedy.
yeah.
But yeah, Bella kind of apologizes and lets Sprig take the card back, and the Ferris wheel shifts, and then she falls off, and Sprig uses his last like Frappuccino to go into Time Lord mode, and like create a giant pile of cushions to soften the blow. She's fine. And like they part on good terms after like the manager tries to like fire Bella, but then Sprig goes into rich person mode and helps her keep her job and get a raise. And Sprig will be spared from the class war, but then I realize that he never paid off Bella's debt, so he's back on the list.
Jesus Christ, he never did he? Oh, no, Bella. Wait, no. Remember, the whole system... Actually, nah, Bella's fine. Like, remember, like, Amphibia, the whole governmental system got destroyed, so, hey. Hopefully the records on her debt got erased. Like, fingers crossed.
Hopefully she didn't die during the invasion.
Didn't we see her? Yeah, we saw her in the beginning and the end, right?
Yeah, but like I think Pickle meant like
Yeah,
after the
she was-
invasion, after the battle.
Okay, yeah, honestly, Bella probably died then. Well, at least we don't have to pay out the debt. Like, they escaped it somehow.
Yeah, and yeah, the episode ends with like Sprig exhausted after that night and just wants to crash in the room, but then at that moment, Anne's alarm goes off, and all the rest of the planners wake up refreshed and ready to explore Utopia. And the episode ends with just them bugging Sprig. And I like the added touch of like Hop Op's poking, Anne's kind of just like pushing him awake, and then Polly's just like punching it.
Yeah, that was really funny. Like, I just love how refreshed they look as soon as they wake up. Like, it's really funny.
Yeah, I think it's like they actually had like quite a day. It seems like
Yeah, like
I think so Marcy at the Gates was like the entire day. Then the next day it was Scavenger Hunt and the Plantars Check In. So we had like 3 episodes over the span of like 2 days.
yeah, pretty much. They like the Blanders never. I mean, I guess they got the chance to rest before Scavenger Hunt, but yeah, they basically did spend the whole day running around pretty much. Like Sprig never gave himself a break. I mean, like yeah, because Sprig went from like running around the city exploring it with Marcy and Anne to like getting trapped in the sewers and almost mauled by a huge gator to like then going on this huge adventure in this hotel. And it's just yeah, I don't know. He had a very eventful day. And honestly, yeah, he was regretting not taking that nap like everyone else.
Yeah, and I think we've covered we've covered the episode. I guess, is there anything? I think we can go into final thoughts now. Um, I guess starting with Pickle. Any final thoughts on the Plantars Check In?
In terms of the like exposition part, well done. Introduction to Andrias. I still love the shot where they like pan up to him all majestic, and then he's like, they do the whole bait and switch thing. And for the like goofy side of the episode, I think this is like a good Sprig episode. This is a solid Sprig episode, and I think it's one of the few like just solo episodes where it's really only one character or one of the planters that gets any focus, and all the rest of the like characters that are present are either one-offs or just like barely show up. But like it does it well, and it's like it's just a fun episode and an important episode. So I like that.
Thank you, Pickle. Impact. Final thoughts on the Plantars Check In?
Plantars Check In. The first part of the episode is like really great. It's this scene that like changes every single time you watch the show, so it always ages well, kind of like whenever. So that part with Andrias is fantastic. I love it. The rest of the episode's really fun too. It's like just this time to just chill out and to kind of explore Utopia a bit more and just have a solo Sprig episode, and that's fun. And one thing I will say is like, because you mentioned it, just like with the humor of the episode. Sometimes I wish like, because I'm not like the most analytical guy in terms of like humor for the show, and I feel like sometimes I wish more people would analyze why Amphibia can be so funny. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a part of the fandom that doesn't get like, people don't talk about enough. But yet Amphibia is a comedy and it has a lot of really great jokes. Like, so it's something I wish was like more talked about. But yeah, the Plantars Check In is great. I really like this episode. That's it.
Thank you, Impact. And a quick thing about like the comedy of Amphibia. I feel like I saw a video of someone talked about like actually broke down
Like,
like the humor of Amphibia. I don't remember the name.
I think
oh, I
it's
gotta pull up. No, I gotta pull it up right here. It was, yeah. Shout out to Convergion Media and OMG, it's Kavi. So
Oh,
yeah,
shout out to
Kavi,
them.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's good.
yeah. I watched. I think I watched that, and then like I guess that probably just triggered like instinctively like an idea of my brain of like more analysis of humor. But like, yeah, it's like that video, and like I feel like with Amphibia's history, it's like people are gonna talk more about like more of the epic stuff. You know what I mean? Like the stuff from True Colors, or like the bigger stuff with like Olivia and Yunan, or Turning Point, or All In, or like a lot of the bigger like larger story points, or like the hero villain dynamics. But the humor, it's like something I don't feel like is appreciated just as much. Even though Amphibia is really funny, like just in general, it's a very funny show. So, but yeah.
Yep. So if you guys didn't hear it the first time, it's Curmudgeon Media, titled "How Amphibia Does Comedy," and then OMG, it's Covey, uh, "How Amphibia Uses Comedy to Tell Its Story." Those are the two videos if you want to check them out. Uh, so yeah, thanks, Impact. And Nick, final thoughts on the Plantars Check In?
I'm honestly just like it's funny how it's like basically two episodes in one, and I'd say like both are just really great watches, and like I don't know, I don't even know what to say really beyond what we've already said here. It's just yeah, just another solid episode of the Utopia arc, and I feel like looking back, I mean this might be one of the reasons why so many people look like genuinely call this like their favorite arc of the show, and yeah, I think episodes like these definitely help to earn that spot.
All right, thank you, Nick. And yeah, like I really enjoyed this batch of episodes. Scavenger Hunt and the first 3 minutes of the Plantars Check In felt like one segment that I really liked, and the Plantars Check In the last 2/3 felt like a bit of a breather, even though Scavenger Hunt was kind of that as well. I enjoyed both episodes for different reasons. I think the Plantars Check In was just a hilarious Sprig episode, and that elevator scene still cracks me up. But yeah, that concludes this week's recording, and next week we'll be covering Lost in Utopia and Sprig Gets Schooled. So that's going to be a very fun batch of episodes with a little bit of Anne and and Ollie. That's gonna be fun. But with that, that's it for today. Say goodbye, everyone.
See you guys.
Everybody.
See you guys.
See ya.